red. I am blue. You are bright and shiny in my mind. You got me loving, hating, crazy indecision in my mind.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast, where the focus is on deer hunting, tips, tricks, tactics, and stories from across the Midwest. And now, here is your host, Aaron Blasey.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Blasey, and this is episode number 87. And today, I am coming to you from deer camp in Kansas. We're on the brink of the rut. Casey and I are down here grinding it out still. And it's slow. We have been seeing some mature bucks up on their feet during, midday, but no mature bucks yet on stands. So we're kind of getting the tar beat out of us, but that's all right because the next 10 days, in my opinion, are going to be on fire, I feel like. So the rut is getting ready to kick off here, and today I got a really cool guest on here. His name's Chris Propst from Missouri. And Chris is 33 years old. He's from Missouri, like I said. And a lot of the hunting community might know the Propst last name. And Chris's dad, Jeff, he's been in the hunting industry for a long time. And he's actually was one of the first whitetail properties real estate agents when they got started. So he's been doing that for a while. But Chris himself, him and his dad actually got started, doing a lot of filming stuff with the juries. And, that's when I kind of took notice of Chris and his dad, and because I used to watch a lot of jury stuff. So I want to get Chris on here. He's actually in Missouri right now grinding it out on his lease, so I wanted to get him on here and just talk about his tactics in the rut and the pre-rut, like where we're at right now. And we also discuss his start with the juries, how that call came about, and he used to be a producer doing what I do, and he still does do producing a little bit, but not on a TV show anymore. He does like to take a lot of pictures, and we get into that a little bit, but majority of it is tactics for things to be doing right now and what he does. So I really like this podcast. It was really cool. Chris is a really good guy, and I'm excited to bring it to you guys. So yeah, with that being said, lastly, I just want to direct everybody out there. I'm going to tell you guys again to go to the Kiefer Bros website at www.kieferbros.com and check out all the exclusive discounts from our partners. There's discount codes on that website. Go there, check them out. You guys can have some codes, take those. We put them on there for a reason. So anything you guys are looking for that we might use, there's probably a code for it out there somewhere. So go do that, check them out, and hopefully you guys enjoy those. So I'm going to get to this podcast here with Chris. I've been blabbering too long, so hopefully you guys enjoy this, and hopefully the rut treats everybody really well and everybody gets a buck. So good luck out there, and here's my interview with Chris. All right, and today with me I have Chris Propst from Missouri. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on? You're down in Missouri hunting right now. You said you were with your dad up at your lease, and what's the weather like going on there?
Well, the weather's been pretty good. I haven't been hunting a whole lot this year, but what little bit I have, it's been pretty good weather most of October. We've had a few little warm-ups, but right now, man, it was when I left our house to hunt this morning, it was 29, and I got to stand. It was, I think, like 32. So it was a little bit slower than I thought it'd be this morning, but it was kind of nasty through the night and sleet and slush and stuff like that. But it was cold, but I've seen a few bucks today, but we're a little early still. About another 8-9 days, it ought to really take off.
I agree, man. I mean, yesterday, Casey and I were in Kansas right now, and we were driving to the stand yesterday midday and looked over, and he's like, look at that buck. And in the CRP right on the side of the road, this mature 10 had the first, it seemed like, I mean, she was hot. You could definitely tell she was, in estrus, and there was a little buck trying to come up and take her, and he was running him all around. So it was good to see. I mean, we're right on the brink of things, but I agree, the next 5 to 8 days, I think it's really going to start opening up here soon. And we're supposed to get about 3 inches of snow throughout tonight and into tomorrow. So, and it's going to get colder, I guess. Tonight was raining, last night was raining. So, I think it's going to brew up for a pretty hardcore rut.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. some of the long range forecast looks really, really nice. A lot of days in the low to mid 40s for the high and 20s and 30s for the lows. So I think it could be really good. It's just, I don't typically, I work a pretty busy job, so I don't get to hunt a lot in October. So I try to save as much time as I can for November. And so late October, I don't get to hunt it that much. So I was pretty excited when I saw the weather, but it's still just a little early. We were seeing some bucks, and I know there's a few big deer being killed, but I think from what it seems like, most of them, it seems like food source.
Yep.
Still, but I know we're close. I know it's not going to be long. There's going to be some popping, and it'll be pretty good.
For sure, man. Well, you just brought up, that you have a pretty big work schedule. So if we could real quick, could you give an intro to everybody, just who you are and, what you do for a living and basically how you grew up in, the hunting world?
Yeah, Chris Propst. I live in Peevely, Missouri, which is just, it's 25 minutes south of St. Louis, straight south. And I'm 33, got a wife, got a little girl that's 8, little boy that's going to be 4 in February, and been married for, 9 years. I get the date right. But no, I virtually started hunting and being involved a lot with the industry from my dad, obviously. He was a manufacturer sales rep in the hunting industry for a long time. He did that for, I think, 17, 18 years. Started out in the early 90s in the high country days when they were kind of the big name, and then he went to work for Hoyt in the mid-90s. And then he worked for Hoyt and Easton and a lot of different companies throughout for the next, I think he was with them for like 13 years. And then, we've been involved in the industry for a long time. We used to film for Drew Outdoors. We filmed for them for 15 years. And, we just quit filming just a few years ago, just kind of wanted to get back to just hunting. Enjoyed a lot of it. I still miss producing a little bit. I don't miss the stress of, man, we really need to get something killed.
Yep.
But I do miss I do miss producing a little bit. So
yeah.
But no, he works now. He quit the sales gig back in I think 2008. He left, and he was one of the first agents Whitetail Properties started with. So he's been with Whitetail Properties now for 11 years. Since they started virtually, and so he's involved with them and been just doing our thing, just hunting as much as we can. So
for sure, man.
That's really about it.
That's cool. And you said you guys were with Drew's for a little while. How did that all get started, and where did that take off?
Yeah, my dad and Mark and Terry were all really good friends. I mean, I've known Mark and Terry since I've known people virtually. I think my dad was in Mark and Tracy's wedding, if I'm not mistaken. And so we kind of just started filming together when I was pretty young. I shot some animals. I killed an elk when I was like 14, and some deer and some turkeys and stuff. And then we started filming pretty hot and heavy after that. And then they started the Dream Season show. We did it the second season. We filmed that was like in 2004. And then we filmed season 6 of Dream Season as well. And then we started filming Bo Manus. We filmed Bo Manus for several years, and we also filmed for the DVDs for a long time. But my dad and Mark and Terry are very good friends. I mean, him and Mark especially, they talk quite a bit, and they've just been friends a long time, and that's really how that all started. And it's led to the filming stuff. Really led to a lot of cool things. I mean, if we didn't get to film for all those years, there's a lot of cool stuff that I would have not got to see. That's for sure.
Being a producer can take you all over the world, whether it's chasing whitetails, mule deer, sheep, and you get to experience a lot of cool things, like you said. And that's one thing I just love about what I get to do, on a day-to-day basis, is just all the cool places you can go to, and like you said, the different experiences you can have and the memories that you really make.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's hunts that I would probably never get to go on if it wasn't for filming. And I would
sure.
Go in Alaska with my dad moose hunting, and we went to the Northwest Territories caribou hunting, Alberta a couple different times for muleys, and just we've been on. Just this February I was in Idaho mountain lion hunting with him, and we've went on a lot of cool hunts together, and a lot of those wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't from filming.
Yep.
You know, so it at times I'm done, and then you'd produce a good hunt and then you keep going.
Yep.
It's just like golf. I play a lot of golf, and there's times when you get on a bad streak, you're going to quit playing, then you make a couple birdies and you keep going at it. So it's definitely taken me to a lot of places that if I hadn't been filming, I never probably would have got to see.
Definitely. And one way I look at it too is like, I might not be hunting, but I am in a way, like with the whitetail, what we do all fall, and you learn so much because you meet so many other people, and and getting to be side by side with Casey, you just bounce ideas off each other all the time, and you learn things, and it kind of opens your eyes to a new perspective as well, and not be so tunnel vision, which you could get. And that's what I like. Just the learning process is, I feel like I'm always learning everything.
Well, yeah, and the older I get, the less I really care about killing. When I go on these, don't get me wrong, I still want to kill stuff. I still want to kill a big buck this year, hopefully. And but like when we go on these hunts, I mean, producing it gives me a rush, just like I would shooting a big deer.
Right.
I mean, I get excited, pretty much just as excited doing that stuff. And then, like you said, you get to meet a lot of new people and get introduced to new things, and it's a lot of fun when it's going right. It's very enjoyable.
It really is, man.
It's really cool just to reflect back and watch the raw footage of stuff.
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot, just not even the edit, it's just the raw stuff, just to see it. So
for sure,
that is one part I do miss about it is not getting to go back and see it, but I don't mess with them cameras at the same time.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's so much going on. Like yesterday morning, we got in the stand, and all of a sudden my camera just like shut off on me, and I'm like, well, what's going on here, and I needed to run a firmware update on it, but it seems like every day a new firmware update comes out on it, and it's like you got so many components,
right.
So many different things to think about, and it can be really fun, but it can be really frustrating at the same time. But I have more fun moments than frustrating moments, which is good. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I still carry a camera every time I go to the stand. It's just mostly now it's it's stills. It's just not video, and I've gotten to where I truly enjoy that. I just, like this year, I haven't got to get out much, so I'm kind of lacking on how much photography I get to do and stuff. But
right.
Yeah, I carry a camera, and my dad always gives me a hard time because everywhere we go, or we would be hunting together, I'd always carry a big pack full of stuff. When we went hunting in Alaska moose hunting, I had 5-6 lenses with me and everything I could fit in a pack. And he's like, "Why do you carry all that?" And and I go to a whitetail to go sit in a box blind for 3 hours on a food plot, and I'll have a pack with 2 or 3 different lenses and everything else in there. He's like, "Why do you have all?" But I just want to carry it in case I want it, because I enjoy that stuff still.
Yeah.
And he's always gave me a hard time about carrying too much stuff. It's kind of an inside joke between us, but it just I'd rather always have it than not have it. You know what I mean?
So your dad, he actually killed a pretty good buck this year already, right?
Yeah, he did. Actually, his target buck too. We don't kill a lot of deer early. We get on them, but it's all early season is so conducive to the weather. It just has to be weather, has to be perfect, and he's busy with real estate. I'm busy at work, and I live it's about 3 hours away from where I live to where we hunt, so it's not like I'm like, oh man, it's going to be a good evening tomorrow, I can just go hunt. That's where it's kind of a disadvantage for me, and we kill most of our deer in the rut. We've got the farms that we're set up for. It's just they're really set up for rut and late season hunting. But this year here, he got on this deer, and we had a lot of pictures of him early, but I don't think we had any in daylight once he was hard-horned, and then his first sit this year, he killed him. He came into a clover field. Yeah, the first sit, October 3rd. Our season opens September 15th, but he was elk hunting and doing other things, and I went an evening up here to shoot a doe, and I took my little boy and him, so the three of us went together, and that was the first sit he went, and the first time he hunted, he hit a perfect cold front, and the best buck on the farm he's trying to kill came out and he killed him. So
that's awesome.
I've been giving him a lot of grief because my daughter said that was her deer, and he killed him the first outing, but I don't blame him. But no, yeah, first cold front came into a clover field, and I think he was kind of just shocked because here's a 5.5-year-old deer that just popped in, and gave in good light, and it doesn't seem like that ever happens to us. It seems like when we see them early season, it's last light, and just, I don't know, it's just, some of these farms in Missouri, you can do that on. You can get on bucks and kill them early, but I don't know, man. The time, all the years we've hunted early season, I can't. That's the best buck we've killed early October for sure.
Yep.
But it just, it worked out perfect for him. But yeah, most of our hunts is rut and late season. Late season is my favorite time to hunt. I love late season hunting.
Yep. If you can bear the elements, man, it is deadly. I've killed 2 bucks in late season in Missouri that way over some food, and that's a lot of fun. But it also can be an Ironman hunt as well.
Oh, no doubt. And it's the same thing. It's all weather related.
Yeah.
You got to have good cold weather. It's funny because when you're in the early season, the cool fronts are the temperatures you would think there's just perfect for early season is just like the scorchers late season.
Exactly.
If you got a evening in the high 40s or something like that late season, you're like, oh crap. But in the early season, that's what you're shooting for. But yeah, I love late season hunting. It's one of my favorites. Obviously the rut is exciting and seeing bucks and chasing does and cruising and stuff, but you usually see a ton of deer. We don't hunt mornings late season. I know some people may, but our farms just aren't set up for it. The access, you have to get through most of the tillable or most of the food to get to the bed, to cut them off, and it's just not set up for it. So yeah, I mean he killed that buck early season, but yeah, we killed most of our deer either rut or late season.
I got you. Well, and it seems like those cold fronts in early season, if you can catch a good front in early season, early October, it seems like those are always, I don't know. I don't know why those are more amplified. I feel like, I've had some success early season in October like that in Michigan, hunting when a cold front hits. Like last year I was able to get an opportunity at, my target buck was a 4-year-old, and where I'm at, a 4-year-old's pretty hard to come by.
Sure.
And it was a morning hunt, and it was the first day of the cold front. Went out there, and he walked right by me on a field edge on standing beans, and he was out there just roaming around. But it was like a 20 to 22 degree drop in temperature in a day, and It was like he was just up and going, and it just feels like those cold fronts then, I mean, all cold fronts are good, it seems like, but those ones in early October for some reason just are more amplified, and I feel like they're a little better. I don't know why that. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And, the thing that, again, I know I kind of said this earlier, but the thing that really hurts me is just being able to be there when there is a cold front.
Right. Yep.
It just makes it so much more difficult. That's why I don't really kill much early season. I'll go check the cameras on the front that I missed, and there's the buck in the food plot that you're wanting to kill, or he's right there or something like that, and then just either right after shooting light, or you never know, he could have been in there during it or something, but for me it's being able to hit the cold front aligned with my schedule with work, and that's the part that makes it really tough. And we get into that mid-October where they just I know last year mid-October was really good.
Yes. Yep.
Probably better than it's been, and I don't know how long. I mean, we had a real cool middle of October, and I got to hunt like 2 or 3 days middle of October last year, and I saw bucks everywhere. And I know the one evening, I hunted one evening middle of October this year and saw like 7 bucks. I mean, they were really, really moving good, and it was like it was the you would think it was the first week of November, the way the bucks were moving. It was crazy. Yep. But that's the biggest thing for me is being able to hit that cold front with my work schedule. It's busy. I work there's a lot of 70, 80-hour work weeks. I work shift work, and it's swing shifts, and I work for a chemical plant in St. Louis, and it's difficult to get off. And and be there to hit them when you have a couple days notice. You
Yeah.
know, obviously I know that the rut's going to be the first few weeks of November, so I plan my schedule for that. But
exactly.
otherwise, if I was planning it for the 17th of October, it may be 85 degrees. You may have a big warm-up, be 80 degrees.
Yeah. You know, when you're coming into every season, you know, what days are you looking to really hone in on and try to really capitalize on? Are you more of like a rut guy, or first week of November? Is it that or the last week of October, gearing up? You know, what are you honing in on, and when are you going to put most of your time in?
My best week, and mine's pretty similar to a lot of people's probably. I think personally the 7th through the 13th. That's always been when I've seen the best movement. November 7th has always been my favorite day to hunt.
Okay.
It's funny because it's actually my wife's birthday, and I've missed a lot of birthdays, but I've got a pretty understanding wife who's pretty awesome about letting me, or being cool with me being gone. But no, the 7th to the 13th I think is the best. I mean we've killed a lot of bucks the first few days of November. I killed a big buck, a big 5.5-year-old buck 2 years ago on the 3rd, evening of the 3rd out cruising.
Okay.
And I know it can be good, but I just feel like that second week is better personally. But the only thing with the second week is you can get really close to hitting that lockdown period.
Yep.
And a lot of times, but see, as a Missouri guy, our gun season is usually around the second week, or around let's say the 12th to the 15th of November.
Yep.
So we don't have like a full month to bow hunt. So once those guns start popping, it changes a lot of stuff. And you're from Michigan, right?
Yep.
So I know that you guys, I'm sure, have the same kind of experience.
15th every year, man. November 15th.
Yeah,
on that
so
day.
it's right. And ours, this year, ours is the 16th. And
Okay.
that's just because of the way that Thanksgiving falls a little bit later this year. Last year, I think it opened on the 12th. So we have 15 full days of bow hunting in November, which is rare for us. But yeah, usually the 7th to the 13th. I think that's the best time. The first week of November, it always seems like the first few days are a little slow.
Yep.
And it obviously, just starts to ramp up.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to plan 1 week every year for rut, it'd be the 7th to the 13th. And then, I like that. I like some early December hunting, because you can get to where if you have some green that you can hunt evenings on, and if you got green and grain, depending on the temperature, I've killed a real good buck. I think like the 6th. It was just shy of 160, like the 6th or 7th of December.
Okay.
And we had a high pressure cold front move in, and I shot him at like 2:00 in the afternoon. I was actually walking into the food plot, and he was already out. So it seems like right at the end of November, first part of December, they get on green pretty good again. And then after that, it starts to shift to a lot of grain unless you have a lot of warm up. For us, that's what it seems like anyways. But the first, like I said, 7th to 13th, I would book that every year personally for me.
Well, and you were talking about the early December, and a lot of does could be coming back in and cycling back in at that time as well. So, you're starting to get deer that are on that green source, or the grain with some colder temperatures, and you get some does that really want to be eating too, and get them concentrated and hunting the does again. Those bucks are going to start cruising for them. I mean, because that second rut can come in, and I've seen it be pretty deadly as well.
Sure, yeah, and I've noticed that the end of November, early December, especially the end of November,
around Thanksgiving,
you may not see as many. You may not see as many deer, but I know historically from what we've seen and a lot of people that you don't see a lot of the hardcore cruising you would see, like in the, let's say, the 5th or 6th of November. But you seem like that's when a lot of big deer get moving too.
Yeah.
A little bit later in November. Like you said, looking for those last does and does that are cycled real late. But yeah, it gets really good for us once December starts to roll around and we can shift primarily to food. and then really, really monitor your cameras. And like you said, you get to where there's does, there's going to be bucks.
Yep.
And you know they're going to bump them no matter what. If they're hard-horn, usually they're always thinking about it. So
For sure.
you can see, they're always going to be where the does are most of the time. So yeah, I agree 100%. They usually, if you get to where the does are, there's going to be bucks.
Yep. Well, right now we're around the, around Halloween, and we're right on the cusp of this rut breaking open. So, taking the relevancy right now, what we got, what are you doing right now for tactics? And, you're doing much calling? Are you just, sitting in transition? Or are you on food right now? I mean, kind of the scenario we have, we're in the 30s, the weather usually right now, and we got some weather rolling in as well. But what is your perfect scenario right now? I mean, what are you starting to get into, and are you being a little more aggressive, or are you still trying to look back from afar and trying to pinpoint a specific deer and go in once you get a good beat on them?
Yeah, well, right now, it's funny you said specific deer. I'm hunting one specific deer that I've got. He's a 6.5-year-old deer, and he's a really, really nice buck. And he, I had pictures of him last year, and he disappeared all year long. Not velvet, but from about end of September on. And I saw him last year in November, one time, and I never saw him again. And then he disappeared all year, and he popped back in first week of October. And right now I'm still being a little bit more conservative, just because our whole farm is getting ready to change, because the way our farm, our lease, lays, it has a lot of tillable on it.
Okay.
And it's a lot of big timber, and it's in corn this year, and they are just now getting to start cutting the corn. So they just literally started cutting it today. So they got a lot of ways to go. So once that corn's cut, it's going to really change the game, because, I mean, there's so many good spots that I really can't even hunt right now because I have nowhere to shoot.
Yeah.
The corn is, it's good dirt, and it's tall, and it's, other than deer damage, there's just, I can't, there's some of the spots I really would like to hunt, I can't really get into yet. Some of them, even physically, it's virtually impossible to get into. So right now I'm kind of being a little bit more conservative. I'll dive into the deep stuff in the timber here next week. We hunt a lot of big timber and hunting ridges and pinch points and ditches and things like that. And I'll dive into that next week. So right now I'm kind of just still taking it easy. I would like to really dive into it, but I know it's just not right yet.
Yep.
And I just don't want to take a chance in boogering something,
Mm-hmm.
But there's two deer that I would shoot right now. There's several real nice bucks, but there's one deer in particular I want, and there's another big 8-point that's got a bunch of trash that I would definitely shoot if he came in. I don't know the deer. I can't think of who he would be from the last few years, but I know he's old. He's huge, and he's got real beady eyes, and he just looks old. But yeah, I'm still kind of like, today I hunted a set, kind of on an inside corner, and there is a little bit of shooting here. Actually, this is one spot where the corn wasn't great all the way to the field, but the main reason I was there is there's a bunch of scrapes, and it rained, a bunch last night, and I thought, well, maybe I can catch a buck kind of cruising through and working a few scrapes or something like that. But it was kind of slow this morning. I've seen just a few deer, a little buck. I actually saw a bobcat. And then I actually went back there tonight because that's where I'm getting the most pictures of deer. And saw a couple bucks, but just a little slow still. And
yep.
I know it's getting ready to get right. But like I said, there's a lot of ground that's basically a huge bedroom with all that corn out there that they could be anywhere in it. So once they get that corn out, it's going to completely change the game. And I was dreading it because it was really, really late getting in. They didn't put the corn in until, I think, almost the end of June.
Oh, wow.
And I thought when they pulled up the plant, I thought it was going to be beans because it was so late, which that farm is always better than beans. And they planted corn, and I was shocked. But, I mean, there's parts of the corn that I guess they're going to put in dryers. It's still a little green.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just some of it. I mean, most of it's all brown, don't get me wrong, but some of the leaves still have some green in them. So
wow.
I guess they're going to cut it and put it
hope
in
for the
dryers
best.
or something. So, Yeah, here's me. Just get it out. I don't care what you do with it.
Exactly. So are you, really honing in on your cameras and monitoring those and really, looking at scrapes and trying to get after when a deer is showing up in daylight, or where there's more activity right now? Are you trying to hunt where, there's more deer, more does, just trying to, hopefully get that first buck, that mature deer that's coming around and checking them, and is that what you're kind of doing?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of both, really. The spots I'm hunting right now are, I've hunted this farm for a long time, so historically, I know they're good. I know that there's a pretty good amount of deer on it, and there's a pretty good amount of deer using the spots that what little hunting I've done so far this year, there's a pretty good amount of deer using it. But there's also just an absolute ton of scrapes. I mean, I was telling my dad this today. I was going in to hang a stand, and I said, I think this is the most buck sign I've ever noticed on this or seen on this farm. And
yep.
It's it's good every year, but it's just insane this year. I mean, it's just scrape after scrape after scrape after scrape, and it just. So right now, I'm kind of mostly transition spots. I'm trying to catch them going to feed, and
yep.
trying to basically like we talked about, being where the does are, where the bucks are going to look. But I know that here soon it's going to all change, and I'll get a lot more aggressive here next week. But right now, yeah, I'm really monitoring my cameras hard. That's one thing I really enjoy doing, is running trail cameras. I don't get to do a lot of like glassing. If I could sit on this farm and glass it, I would love to be able to hunt a farm that you could really scout like from afar and glass.
Yep.
But it's not possible for where I live, and obviously being in corn, you can't see anything. But so for right now, yeah, I'm monitoring cameras, and the deer I'm hunting, I had on 5 different cameras, and so it's been kind of hard to narrow him down. But I've just been trying to hunt near where I'm getting the most pictures. But he seems to be a roamer. He's all over the place, which is kind of strange because, a lot of times as they get older, their core shrinks
a little bit, yep.
And, man, he's everywhere. So, and I say everywhere, I mean, he's in a couple 100-acre span. So, and when that's big timber, man, it's hard to really narrow him down on that. So, but the place I'm at, right, I hunted this morning, I do have daylight pictures of him, but it was middle of October.
Okay.
So
I got you. Yeah, and that's the same way we got a deer right now too. Just a couple of days ago, he, his core area was pretty tight, but next thing you know, he's like way on the other end of the farm on camera, and then he goes to another camera that's like, and then an hour later he's way on the other side on the farm, and it's like, what made him do that? What made him roam that one day, and then he kind of tightens up again, but kind of starting to figure out his pattern a little bit, and what his travel route is. But it is, it's pretty crazy how deer do that in a way. Same thing with that deer I was telling you about in Michigan last year. I had that deer, when we got the farm, he was a 2-year-old, and when he was 3 years old, I had like a couple pictures of him in the summer in velvet. And then I never saw him at all in the fall. Not one time. No pictures, I thought he was gone. And then as a 4-year-old, he comes up, and I saw him 8 times in daylight, got an opportunity at him. And cameras, I mean, all over. I watched him all summer, watched where he bedded, in the beans, watched him get up, and eat all the time. Filmed him. It was crazy. And then, he ended up getting, my shot wasn't a very good shot. I hit him high shoulder and tracked him for a couple of days. Then he ended up dying by a car after season was over. Yeah, right in the ditch of the farm that I hunt. So it was just a crazy whirlwind. But it's funny how the deer, they do that as they get a little older. But, and I've heard of guys saying too, as a 3, 4, and 5-year-old, he could be very visible, and then, a 6-year-old, he's gone, and then you think he's gone, and then he shows back up, and it's like, where did he go?
Yeah, exactly. And it's weird because I killed a buck a few years ago that did everything complete opposite of what you would think they would do.
Yeah.
He was 6.5. He's at least 6.5. When he first popped on the farm, he was obviously at least 4-year-old, so I'll just say he's 6.5. And he became the most visible when he was 6.5. And we saw him once the first year, once the second year. The third year, I saw him like oh man, I think 5 times. My dad, I think, saw him 2 or 3. I mean, it was crazy how this deer, but when we talk about the home core area, it just kept shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really strange about our deer, we got the main farm I hunt. There's basically, obviously every farm has a north end and south end, but it's like virtually 2 different farms. The deer on the south end never go to the north, and the deer from the north never come to the south. It's so, you just don't see it. There's like a block of timber that separates the bottom half, and you just don't see the deer that are on the north end on the south, and vice versa. They just don't do it. And I don't know why, because it's not that far. We're talking like a quarter of a mile maybe.
Yep.
For the deer to roam back and forth, and they just don't do it. But now this buck I'm hunting this year, I've never had a picture of him on the south end of the farm, but I've got him on. I had, like I said, a week ago I pulled the camera cards, and he was on 5 different cards. I pulled him again today. Not as many. I didn't pull as many cameras today, but he was on 3 out of the 5 that he was on last time. So, but it's just he's all over the place, and
Yep.
I don't know. I can't figure it out. This one's kind of a mystery, but there is one spot that I had more pictures than not more pictures of him there than others, but I don't know. It's weird. Sometimes you think, well, it should be getting smaller, and this deer, he's everywhere.
Roaming everywhere.
I can't figure him out. Yeah, he's everywhere. So I don't know what to do.
So, when you pulled those 5 cameras and you got him on those 5 cameras, then when you fast forward to this week and you pull those same cameras and he's only on 3, are you starting to hone in on a little more where you think he's spending a lot more of his time, maybe bedding? Do you know where he's bedding? And, are you putting in any merit if those pictures are all in after dark? What's your scenario there? If they're all after dark, what are you trying to do to kind of hone in on him if he's starting to just kind of get a little smaller and smaller in his area?
Right. Yeah. So, it's weird because the way that this, you can virtually kind of make this like if you drew a line left to right, and then you put a dot in the top and the dot in the bottom, like almost like if you traced the outline, it'd be a diamond.
Yep.
That's how these cameras are placed on these particular spots. So he was on all 5 of those. Now he's on the top dot, the bottom dot, and the far right. So now he's kind of all over. And the one was, they're all 3. Obviously one's on a food plot, the other 2 are on scrapes, and they're all within 25 yards of the stand. So they're all pretty, I know where he's right there somewhere, but I just can't, it's just really, really hard to narrow him down. And I've been looking at the dates and then kind of trying to figure, okay, here's what he did this day. Here's what he did this day. And then I had a span of a few days where, okay, he was down here for 3 or 4 days and never went up here.
Yep.
So to me, okay, that seems like he's living down here now. And I was getting daylight. Now they're all dark, which I'm not surprised. It seems like the way that works out. But when you're getting October the 12th, 14th, something like that in daytime, and now they're, it kind of got, the weather wasn't as great, but now it seems to be getting a little bit better. So we'll see if it changes now. But now I've kind of say, okay, now he's using these 3. Now let's see is he making kind of a loop coming through here? And because virtually the first time I checked it, I went back and I looked at the dates. He basically made a loop, and I had him on all 5 cameras the same day.
Wow.
A couple of them are on field edges. One of them's on like a big roadway, like a logging road that goes back to the north end, and then he's in our north food plot. Then he, the last picture in the last pool, not today's pool, but last week's, he was on the very north end of the farm going north. And I thought, well, maybe he's living to the north. And I thought last year he was living to the north on the neighbors. So I tried to hone in more to the north.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the majority of the pictures last year were 2 spots on the north and where I'm getting a bunch of pictures now. But it's such a big area, I'm just going to have to try to hunt where I'm getting him the most, is the only thing I can think of. Is one is a food source. Obviously, the other one has food near it too, but the other one is a really good cruising spot and a really good, it's a big cove on an inside corner of a tillable field, but it's a really good spot for him to cruise. And I got a stand there, and then I went down in the timber this year away from there because I feel like, well, if he's living down in here, I need to get some more stands in this area. And I hung a stand down in there last week, and it looks really, really good. I'm just waiting on the right wind.
Mm-hmm.
But I could probably hunt it, honestly, in the morning, but I don't know. The wind seems a little iffy for it. It needs to be more of like a straight east, and I think it's supposed to be north-northeast, so it's a little iffy. So I'd rather wait for it to get just right and, then be moving a little bit better, and then I'll dive down in there. But I just basically I went to hang another stand today. I'm trying to find out where he's at and just put as many spots that I can think of in that area and then just go from there. Because this big timber really can be a crapshoot. I mean, it really can. I mean, because you just don't, they could come from anywhere, and I don't know where he's bedding. That's the biggest thing. But I got to go where I'm getting the most pictures.
Yep.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, and you're kind of explaining a scenario I have in Michigan. One of my farms is all big timber. I mean, it's a 215-acre farm, and all of it but 60 acres is timber. And it's like the hard thing about it is, like you said, you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know where they could show up, and you always have to give something away. With your win and your set, you always got to feel like you got to give up something, and it's like, what do you give up? And you could think that this deer's coming through this way all the time, and you're guessing maybe, or maybe you got a good idea, but it's like, am I hunting it wrong? And it's a lot of guessing. And I guess my next question to you is panic setting in a little bit, just because of in the next 8 days or so, he could be really unpredictable. As more mature deer, they get on a doe and they could be gone for a while. Or are you more like, I just got to put in the seat time and just hopefully he shows up around this time?
It's a little bit of all the above. Honestly, the last camera pull, he had disappeared for like a week, but he was on one of those cameras every day, and then he was gone, and it was like, and he's going north. So I know he's leaving the property just because of where this food plot is. It's at the very north part of our farm.
Okay. And
the neighbors have beans, and it's in the, nobody hunts it. And they're not supposed to be anyways on the neighbors, but I know that, okay, they don't really get pressure there. He's headed that way. I always felt like that's where he lived most of the time. But yeah, it is a little bit. I kind of got stressed where I'm like, oh man, is he gone? Maybe will he come back? But you're going to have that no matter what with any deer. It becomes kind of weird that we obsess over an animal. We're like, where's he doing? Where's he going? You're stressed and trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, you just got to hunt.
Yep.
That's the only thing you can do is watch the wind, try to be in your best spots, and hope, because so much deer hunting is luck. I mean,
so much?
It's one thing to sit on a food plot, but they could be anywhere in the rut. And like I said, especially the timber. I mean, that one block of timber is, I don't know, it's probably close to 200 acres, 150 acres of timber.
Yeah.
And we got stands scattered all through it, but it's big timber. I mean, that's luck that he walks by you. Sure, there's skill that goes into scouting and finding the right spot and doing all that, but at the end of the day, he's got to walk past you 30 yards or 40 yards or less, or whatever you're going to shoot, But I'm just going to hunt. I told my dad this today. I said, I'm going to hunt as much as I can. I'm going to try to be as patient as I can. That sometimes gets tough when they're not moving. But I know that that's what I'm going to have to do if I'm going to try to kill this deer or the other one. But this is the main one I want to kill, and I'm going to have to really, really just hit it hard. And just like I said, at the end of the day, just hope he shows up. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like calling it a turkey where you hear him gobbling and you go to him. You just hope he walks by you.
Right.
Well,
Well, and turkeys are very humbling. At one point, you think they're the dumbest bird ever, and then they pull the Philly fake out, and you're just like, okay, well, you are pretty smart.
Oh, sure. There's a lot of animals that can humble you real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
They can do that, that's for sure.
Yep. Well, within this area or where you're trying to hone in, and this time, we're, like I said, we're around October 31st, right around Halloween here. Are you starting to call at all? Are you doing any blind calling, or are you just kind of getting in the stand and letting it happen?
No, well, actually, I did. I tickled the horns a little bit this morning, just rattled real lightly, just one time, just kind of slow. But, yeah, I mean, I'm getting into where I won't go in the woods, unless I forget it. Right. But I won't go in the woods without a grunt call or rattling antlers right now. I mean, it just, I do call. That's my dad taught me when I was a kid how to call to animals, no matter what it is, and how they, how to read their, if you see a deer or a turkey or whatever it is, and how to call to them and how to kind of read their body language and stuff. But right now, I know it's getting to be that time that you can really start to call. And but yeah, I did rattle a little bit this morning, but I'll definitely start doing that some more here soon, probably next week, for sure.
Yeah, right when it's, I think, like middle of next week, it's going to get pretty silly. I feel like Iowa today, I got an Iowa tag, actually, and one of the guys that we hunt with up there, he sent us a picture. They woke up to an inch of snow, basically, and I'm like, man, it looks good up there, and they're only 3 hours, north of where we're at right now, but I guess we're going to be getting the snow that they got yesterday. We're going to get some of that tonight, so I'm excited about tomorrow, and hopefully this little colder weather coming here, we'll get the deer up and moving a little bit. Like right now, we're honing in on a deer that it seems like we're just a step behind him. I mean, the last 2 mornings, the stands that we went into, he was there an hour before we were there, and it's like,
right.
I feel like you're getting in early, and he's there even earlier. So it's like, what do you got to do, So we feel like we're really honing in on him and just trying to get him, like I said before, that time comes where they're basically all unpredictable and all bets are off.
That's just the way it goes too, and it sucks. You get there and they were there an hour before you. I hate it. It seems like I've had that happen several times. Or I don't know, between this stand or that stand, and you pick the one stand, and the one you second guess yourself on, you pull a card and one of your bucks was on there.
Yep.
I've had that happen a few times where it drove me crazy. But yeah, it's getting to be that time to where everything's getting ready to change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it already is, but it's really getting ready to change here in another week. So
for sure,
it's just going to have to be putting time in and hunting as hard and as much as you can. You know, and I know sometimes it's difficult to sit in a tree stand all day. I'll be the first to admit that I do not like to sit all day. I don't. I usually for sure get down for a little bit, and I'm sure that there's been many times that's bit me in the butt to where I should have been in a tree.
Yeah.
It gets hard, especially if it's slow. That's the biggest one, is when it's slow.
Well, and you always feel like, too,
hunting,
there's something else you could be doing, or, being with your family or something.
Sure.
It's like...
and deer hunting, when they're not moving, man, it's, it for lack of a better word, it gets kind of boring sometimes when they're not moving. When you're not seeing deer. I mean, I take my kids and I take my daughter, and I try to wait basically until the very last time that we need to get in the blind to get in it, because she's impatient, and I get it. I was a kid. I still get impatient.
Yep.
And when they're not moving, it's difficult,
Yeah.
Especially if the weather's not right or it's warm or whatever. But in the rut, you never know. Man, it could be 1 o'clock and they come cruising through. You just don't know.
Exactly.
I was hunting one time in Iowa a few years back with a buddy of mine, and we were seeing deer like crazy. And I wasn't planning on sitting all day. We didn't even take a lunch. And deer just kept moving, and he's like, "Are we going to get down and go get lunch?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't want to get down." And I told him, "It's all right." I told him, if we don't see another good buck by 12:30, we'll get down. And at 12:20, a big 150-inch 8 come cruising through this creek bottom, and I looked up at him because this is back when we were filming, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude, but I'm not getting down." And we didn't see another deer till 4:15.
Oh.
So we could have easily gotten down. It's just the luck of the draw. You just never know.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Well, I want to be conscious of your time, too. I know it's getting late here, and you want to get out in the morning as well. I got a couple rapid-fire questions before we get off here, though. I'm going to put you on the spot. So you did already answer one question, and it's was, what's your favorite time to hunt? And you said the 7th through the 13th of November, so that one's kind of off the table. But the next one is basically if you had one state to hunt whitetails for the rest of your life, and that's the only state you could hunt, and it can be Iowa because that's the default answer. So anything where Iowa, where would you pick?
Honestly, I love hunting at home. I mean, Missouri, don't get me wrong. I know there's other places that are better, I'm sure, but this is home, and I like hunting here.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Kansas. I've hunted Kansas several times, Iowa, but Missouri's home, and I like hunting here.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so the next one would be if you could only take one call in the whitetail woods with you, what would it be and why?
A grunt call. I just think that you could grunt a deer in any time of the year, really. It's something you can be soft, you can be aggressive with it. I mean, it's kind of hard. It doesn't take a lot of movement to blow a grunt call. There's times if you need to throw out a couple soft grunts when you got a deer in a thick spot or something, you can do that and call them in. And I love rattling, but grunt call for sure.
Okay. And are you a scent guy?
Not really. I've never really used them much. I will say that most of the time if I use scent, I'll put some on my boots if I have to walk with a deer walk.
Uh-huh.
I do, I make a lot of mock scrapes, and I'll put some scent in there, but I don't use a lot of scent, no. I don't know why. I just never really have. Most of the time, if I do, I'll put some on my boots just to maybe for a little cover scent if I have to walk with a deer walk.
Okay.
That's usually it.
I got you. So last one, are you a typical or non-typical guy?
Anything. I don't.
You don't discriminate?
I don't discriminate. I don't know. I mean, to me, everybody'd love to shoot a 200-inch typical. To me, a dream buck for me would be a clean 160-inch 8.
Yep.
There's something about a gigantic 8-point that, I don't know what it is, but it's unreal. But, I'm good. I killed my first real big non-typical a couple years ago, and I'm good with either one. Obviously, I think typicals look more impressive, just personally. It's kind of like when people talk about velvet. A lot of people like velvet deer. Personally, that does nothing for me. I've never been into velvet, but no, typical, preferably maybe a gigantic 8.
Yeah, and that's you get a 160-inch 8-pointer. That's a big 8-pointer. 140-inch
Right, yeah,
8-pointers are a pretty big 8-pointer.
Yeah, 100. You think about 140 is a dang nice 8-point,
yeah.
And it takes a lot of bone to grow 160 inches on an 8-point, and I don't know. That's kind of my dad's kind of the same way. He likes really big 8s, and that's kind of one of his. I think if he could pick one deer to kill, I think he'd kill a 160-inch 8. I mean, a 210-inch typical 10 would be fine too, but the 160-inch 8 is probably a little bit easier to accomplish.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, hopefully that happens for you this year, man.
Yeah, I hope so. The one deer I'm hunting is a real clean buck. He's got 2 kickers is all he's got on both G2s, and other than that, he's a really good deer and big clean 10, and I'm gonna just stick after him pretty hard. So
cool, man. Well, I want to thank you for coming on here. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this, and hopefully you get after that buck this year, and good luck, and keep in touch too if you do get an opportunity at him, and we can jump back on here to kind of close the story on him. That'd be great.
Sure, man. I appreciate it, and good luck to you guys, and stay safe and keep after him.
Will do, man. Thanks a lot again.
All right, thank you.
And there you have it, another awesome podcast in my opinion. I'm a little biased, but Chris, he's got a lot of knowledge, man, and I'll tell you, he's killed a lot of big deer and a lot of big animals, not just whitetails, but you name it, he's done it, and he's been there and walked the walk. So he's got some really cool strategies, and I really like talking to him. So hopefully he can capitalize on that buck that he's chasing. We can get him back on here in the next couple weeks. So if he does, he'll definitely be coming back on. So Lastly, I want to leave you guys with, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and leave some feedback. I appreciate it. And hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast that I'm bringing to you. Sorry they're not on so much of a schedule now, like I said a couple weeks ago, but it is tough right now in deer camp. We're hunting every morning. I'm editing during the day or filming, and then hunting at night, getting in late, having dinner, wanting to lay down. So I think you guys might understand the grind a little bit if you're out there doing the deer camp thing. So I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate all the support, and good luck out there and be safe.